Hello, my name is Nick Funk, and this is a devlog for softfalcon.com. I've made a lot of progress since the last time I posted anything on my devlog. I posted about that WebGL Ocean, which was fun, but I haven't actually posted anything about my actual game dev, things that I'm really, really passionate about. So this time I figured, hey, I'm going to go all out. I'm actually going to make a real vlog with me talking and me showing you my work environment. And I want to go to three main things today and actually show you them working in the real deal. So first one is the multiplayer server and client that I've built. I've created an entire UDP stack from the ground up, just .NET-based libraries all the way into something that works with Unity and its game loop. And that's really cool, and I just want to show you guys it in action doing something really interesting. And that is randomly generated dungeons on the server that are being, passed out over to the client, and dynamically created pathfinding for AIs and interactions with, computer-generated characters. So, without any further ado, let's have a look at what we got here. So, right now I'm looking at the server scene inside my Unity, and the reason for that is because I can't debug a client and a server at the same time. I can only do one at a time, and that's why we've got this builds folder. We're going to spawn a client after we start the server. But before we do that, I just want to show something. There is nothing in my server. I don't do traditional, well, some people do this, but I don't do traditional Unity development as most people know it, which is building a world and then having the player run around. I'm not really doing a whole lot in the editor, and that's different from most things that Unity is built for. Unity doesn't really support out of the box as easily worlds that are built, procedurally or at runtime or randomly or rearranged and things like that. It's more about, make a scene, make a cool world, drop the player into it, and do some cool stuff. In my case, we can't, because not only is it multiplayer, it's dynamically generated. So let's spin up the server and have a look at this. So to start, once the server gets going, here's our world. Looks kind of silly. That's because the main camera, the default camera for the server, is in a very bad spot. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually log in with the client, and then it's going to jump over to watch that player because it's the first player that's logged in. So we're going to spin that up, go pop it into window mode, and before we know it, we've got a player. Look at that. So this is a fully authoritative client-server environment. So the server does all the physics, all the math, all the simulation, and the client is just a dum-dum that just sits here and takes inputs from the user. So if I do something inside the server, my keys, nothing, doesn't do anything. However, if I hop into my client and I start moving around, it forwards all of the events, all the input that's important to this client to the server, and it simulates that same behavior that we can jump to. We can walk into objects. There's no actual collision happening down here on the client side. It's all happening in the server and being forwarded back, which is pretty cool. It's a really useful thing to have authoritative, because if it's authoritative, it's very hard for someone to cheat, or it's at least more difficult. It's not, impossible, of course, but it is there. The second thing that's going on here is that we have the server, which took that empty scene, and it's building a world, and it's doing it randomly. You're going to have to trust me on this because I'm not going to dive into the code just yet. But what it did is it started off with this start zone, and it said, cool, I got a start zone, and I've got this bridge that's going off to nowhere. That's called a connection in my logic. And that connection needs to be hooked up to something. In this case, it goes, hey, okay, let's go find a connection, and it decided to make a cave. I only have a start zone in a cave right now, so that's what it got. But in the future, there will be dozens of these guys, and my algorithm will go through and make way more. I'll make more videos about that. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be really cool playing completely random dungeons every time I click that play button, the big blue play button at the top of that Unity game. So it's a lot of fun. So the next thing, because this is pretty cool on its own. I mean, we got, dynamically compiled together and put together pieces of the game. And we can run around. And this is multiplayer. This is an actual server client environment where we're moving around and doing stuff. But what's even better than that? Well, we need enemies and we need actors and we need, agents to do things. So I'm going to do that via this. We're going to hop down this cave. Doop, doop, doop. Oh, and we just triggered a bunch of goblins. So what happened there was a really neat thing. On the server, I triggered an invisible box, and I'll show it to you here in a second. And on the spawned nav mesh, it spawned 3 little orcs, or goblins, or whatever you want to call them. They're just green guys now. And they're following me around with their agent behavior. And this is all happening from client to server, and then server back to client, every 60th of a second, and it's brilliant. It's great. And so we've got really, really cool stuff going on here, and I'm just going to hop into the server here and actually show you guys and gals, of course, everybody. Sorry, not just guys. Show you this very, very cool system. So if I hop into the cave that it spawned, notice these are all clones. It's because it's actually spawning them dynamically as the server starts up. If I hop into the objects and I go to the encounter area, this encounter area has, with its nav mesh service, created an area for these orcs or goblins to run around and chase you. So if I hop into the client again, you can see me moving around and they're just, chasing after me on this space. And if I stop, there's collision working on the server, so they can push me. It's a little choppy. It looks like I need to keep working on the interpolation between client and server. But it works. And you've got this really neat dynamically generated chunk with dynamically generated, AI pathing and navigation, and it works through the client and the server. It's awesome. This gets me really excited. This is a really good point where I can now start to actually think about behavior of monsters and creatures and things that are inside my world and what I want them to do. It's getting closer and closer with all the framework and all the tools to actually build a really fun game. And I just wanted to share that with everybody. And I wanted to show it, and I wanted to show it in a way that's not just an empty video that's me just going, hey, hop around a world and there's some stuff. No, this time you can actually see what's going on, how I'm building it, and what it looks like. If there's more interest in actually having some tutorials on what I'm doing here, please let me know. Those are a lot of work to put together, so I don't want to just put them together and have no one watch them. But if there are people who are interested in seeing what my multiplayer networking stack looks like, what patterns I'm using to, reuse the agent behavior between client and server, how I'm generating these nav meshes using the new tools from Unity that are coming in the later versions of Unity. If you're interested in that kind of thing, let me know. I'll make some tutorials. I promise most of it is pretty clean, easy to read and understand code. I am pretty much a stickler for that type of thing. If you check my GitHub, you'll realize that. So, thank you for watching. I hope this was interesting and enjoyable for you as much as it is for me. And I will see you all next time.